Welcome back to Open Line. Tonight we are talking about easing that back to school anxiety, both for the student and perhaps the parent. I know I have a little anxiety, but we're going to work through it over the next hour. Feel free to call in if you have questions and would like to hear the advice of Dr. Edwina Chappell from the Tennessee Department of Mental Health and Substance Abuse Services. She is here to hopefully answer your questions. We've talked about dealing with normal anxiety, getting in the routine, kind of setting the expectations, talking to your kids in advance of what things are going to be like, really listening to them. How do you know when things go from just having normal anxiety, which we all experience, to something that may be more serious?
Well, often what happens is it kind of takes over the person's life, so that there are things that they're not able to accomplish. I'm trying to give an example of, say, someone who may have a social anxiety, and they, tend to shy away. They don't really want to do much speaking. Say they might have a part, and maybe you've seen them at home, and they are really, really great at the, but then when they get to school, it's they don't want to have anything to do with that, and then they just pull back, and a lot of times they just totally avoid it, and it gets in the way, so that they can't reach their full potential because that anxiety is really just kind of, causing them so much stress. And sometimes, though, too, what also happens is not only does it cause the young person a lot of stress, but then the parents are kind of at their wits' end too, and so it's causing them tremendous stress. For example, like separation anxiety. I was thinking about something like that, where you have the little ones or whatever, and you're talking about dropping your young person off for preschool. And so sometimes, parents get ready to do that. Well, what if now it sounds like that your person is going to be really eager to get out. He's going to be eager to get out. He's going to say, "Have a great day, Mom. I'll see you this afternoon." But then there are some young people that parents get ready to drop them off, and they're not budging.
No, you got to push them into the classroom.
They're not budging out of their car, and it becomes temper tantrums, and it becomes quite an event. And of course, it can get so bad that it actually starts to interfere with the parent's ability to be able to continue to, parent in an appropriate way, because he or she may end up, being late for work and that kind of thing, which could then impact whether or not he or she might have a job later on. And so it starts to put stress and strain on everybody. So, when things just get so, out of control, such that, then people might want to think about seeking out, some help for the particular anxiety disorder. The other thing is, too, I think sometimes, a lot of people don't think anxiety, because sometimes there's a lot of distraction associated with anxiety disorder. So, the first thing people may think about is like ADHD, for example, because you've got all that inattention. But sometimes it's really the anxiety that's really got them so distracted, so unable to be able to focus, and that kind of thing. And
how do you determine that?
If you go to a mental behavioral health professional, that's the politically correct term now, then typically somebody is probably going to do some kind of assessments and that kind of thing. But they also want to look at patterns, so you are not just looking at one isolated event, that kind of thing, because it could be something. Just like in my case tonight, you're anxious because of one particular situation, but overall, things are okay. But you will look to see, if this is something that's occurring, is it like a specific situation that's creating the anxiety, in which case, you may want to talk to the school staff and so forth and kind of find out, what might be going on, what might be triggering. And actually, that's really kind of a good thing anyway, so the more data that you have, the more input that you have. And, even for the behavioral health professional, the more input that he or she has, then the better able that they are able to kind of pinpoint, well, that sounds more like, this sort of, anxiety situation as opposed to that. And then there are also some assessment tools, some objective tools that, might be used for that. And, often, like in mild cases of anxiety disorder, then the behavioral health professional may recommend a behavioral therapy. Usually it's kind of a cognitive therapy where there's a lot of like self-talk, because what happens, and I can really kind of relate to that, is those thoughts really kind of get to your head, because I was just thinking about, some of the anxiousness that I was feeling coming on today, and then I had to keep telling myself it's gonna be okay, it's gonna be, and you go and your child goes, because I was thinking, I said, this is what the children are going to feel like as well. It takes them sometimes to the worst case scenario.
Yes, it's all that runs through your head. Yes.
I'll never, and it's really not going to be that bad. This too should, but in their minds there is no logic, right? Yeah. There is no rationality about anything going on here, and so you really just have to kind of work with them and help them, to kind of get through some of the things so that they can kind of calm them down. And as parents like you were very patient, with your young person. But that's the thing, and it does sometimes. It takes a lot of patience, because sometimes we don't understand what you do it at home, and so when things happen at school that kind of interfere. Why? Test anxiety.
Yeah.
Well,
I want to talk about that.
Okay.
Yes, that's
that
a lot
kind
of
of
people.
thing.
Let's get to Jane. She's on the line real quick before we get to more about testing anxiety. Jane, thank you for calling in.
Hi. Well, actually, you were just about to answer my point. I was calling to talk about testing anxiety. I've seen it from high school, and I just want to know, does it begin in younger ages too, or then a standardized testing is a big thing for little ones, and so I just kind of wondered, what are some ways to help my kids with that?
Great question, Jane. I'll put you on hold, so listen to your TV, okay? All right, go ahead. So testing anxiety, when does it usually start, and then what can we do?
Okay, well, for many young people, it just kind of starts, and it can start in early, elementary school, that kind of thing. And what the children start doing, they put a lot of pressure on themselves, and I want to be perfect, and and so forth, and I've got to get it right, and there's so much going on about this test that they're going to have that they just can't say. And sometimes what may happen is, and we have to remember, I don't know how many parents are maybe helping the young person to start early in preparation, for example, for the test. Sometimes we find that it's about cramming. Do you remember those times when maybe you were in school and then you were getting ready to take the exam, and you just knew you were ready because you studied all night the previous night before, and then you got in the examination room or in time for the test, and what happened?
Blank.
Complete blank.
Yeah.
You couldn't remember a thing. And you were about to
die.
Yes. Okay. And so some of that, we can help, like with study, because we try to cram everything in the, and so the young person is not doing as good of a job in storing that particular information and organizing that information in his or her brain. So what we may want to encourage is like smaller chunks over a period of time. So if you know, for example, there's going to be an exam, or like a spelling exam, for example, on Friday, then you don't want to wait until Thursday to be able to try to get all those words together.
Sure.
So you kind of review, little pieces at a time as you build up, and so then you do a better job of organizing that particular information. The other thing sometimes is that has to do with like strategy. Sometimes the test might have time limits, and so while the young person may know the information that needs to go there, he or she did not pace him or herself appropriately, and so as a result then did not do as well as he or she could, and of course they're devastated as a result of that. So kind of helping them learn, talking about the format of the test. If there's a way to kind of know that ahead of time, if you're going to have multiple choice versus open-ended kinds of questions, that kind of thing, that may help the young person in being able to, better prepare. If they get to questions sometimes too, that, well, I don't know these, and then they think, I won't know anything on it. But it may not be that every question is like that. So, when they get to some questions, then just kind of read down, skip over, and move through some other questions. And sometimes, to their surprise, they find, I know the answer to this one. Yeah.
You can boost that confidence level back up to go back.
Yes, and so
try.
they are feeling much stronger and better about the exam and their ability to be able to do a good job.
Great tips, great tips. Okay, we're going to take another quick break. When we come back, more of your questions if you have them, more about talking about easing that back to school anxiety. Stick around.